Well, thank you so much for checking this out. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you. Everybody is essential, everybody is needed. And today I would like to share two developmental theorists to examine. This was a project I had to complete. My name is Marti Mongiello. Most people just call me Marty. And I'm at the John F. Kennedy School of Psychology and Social Sciences studying for my doctorate. My professor is Dr. Amanda Gibson. In the year of 2025 at National University, I completed this during a course entitled Overview of the Psychological Concepts. And so this was a really cool opportunity to take a look at comparing Erik Erikson and Dr. Albert Ellis. Photo credits today are by Marti Mongiello, typically original cartoon designs, August 9th, 2025. And I have a note to myself to be ready for bristling in the audience over Erikson being unlicensed and having no degree. Erik Erikson, extremely famous for his 8 life stages and much, contribution to the professionalism of the entire practice of psychology. But people, may have not found out or have heard of that he was unlicensed, never had a practicing license, and worse yet, never got a degree at any college or university. So, um, love him to death. You can read his 8 life stages and kind of even see into the future. What do I need to change within myself, to avoid having that negative thing happen in the next stage or this stage. Dr. Ellis did have a master's and PhD degrees from Columbia University, very well known university, very reputable, and was licensed to practice by the noted American Board of Professional Psychology, the ABPP. So he met all the wickets, the other guy did not. And this is the year of 2025 where people expect things to be, like on the up and up, as they would say. Let's take a look at the overview here. I have for you a couple of references that I do put down at the bottom each time. Depending on your school, whether you're on MLA or APA, sometimes it may ask you to put them down in the bottom right corner. It may ask you to put them right into the paragraph. Okay. And yeah, this presentation is going to compare Erik Erikson, who I've introduced, known for his 8 stages of psychosocial development, and Dr. Albert Ellis, the creator of Rational Emotive Behavioral Therapy, REBT. And Erikson expanded Freud's theories. He studied under Anna Freud, Sigmund Freud's sixth child and daughter. Erikson expanded on his theories to cover the entire lifespan, emphasizing the role of social and cultural influences, whereas Ellis broke from psychoanalysis, advocating for rational thinking to replace harmful beliefs. And while their approaches differ, Erikson's being stage-based and developmental, and Ellis's being immediate and cognitive, they share a goal of fostering mental health through personal growth. A little bit of background on them. Erikson, German American, trained in psychoanalysis and lifespan focus. Ellis, an American psychologist, cognitive behavioral pioneer. Erikson, as I mentioned, trained under Anna Freud and integrated cultural and social aspects into psychoanalytic theory. His 8 stage model, very famous, provided a framework for understanding development from infancy to late adulthood. It's always cool to see what stage you're in of his famous 8 stages, and whether you're getting the good stuff out of that or the bad stuff. Um, Ellis, frustrated by the slow pace of psychoanalysis, developed Rational Emotive Behavioral Therapy, REBT, in the 1950s before I was born, and to directly target irrational beliefs. So I just love his stuff about masturbation, catastrophizing, awfulizing, shooting on other people, and pulling your pants down to shoot on them, a demand, a should, or a must. This guy is hilarious. Some people, of course, may not find him so funny. His approach influenced modern cognitive behavioral therapy, which is CBT, methods, but both became key figures in moving psychology toward practical, results-driven applications. Erikson in education and counseling, Ellis in psychotherapy and self-help. Theories and contributions. Erikson's 8 stages outline life's psychological conflicts, trust versus mistrust in infancy to integrity versus despair in old age. Each stage's resolution influences later growth. Ellis's ABC model describes how an activating event, A, activation, leads to beliefs, B, beliefs, which cause consequences, C, challenging irrational beliefs, changes emotional outcomes. Erikson provided a developmental roadmap. Ellis offered a hands-on tool for emotional change. Together, they represent developmental and cognitive behavioral approaches in psychology. Erikson's roots were in psychoanalysis, but he emphasized social context and lifelong identity formation, diverging from Freud's focus on childhood and sexual drives. That's all you hear is sex, sex, sex with Freud. Well, maybe that's not all you hear. Ellis rejected the passive analyst role, preferring active dialogue, drawing from Stoic philosophy. Ellis taught that emotional control comes from altering thought patterns. Both recognize human capacity for change, but Erikson's model focused on long-term development, whereas Ellis focused on immediate cognitive restructuring. And be careful, Erikson emphasized dignity, cultural respect, and framing life crises as growth opportunities. Ellis valued honesty, often using blunt language, cursing, but stressed empathy and informed consent. Both align with APA's ethics, beneficence, non-maleficence, and respect for rights. Ellis's approach was more confrontational, potentially challenging for sensitive clients. Certainly if you're using the F word and MF and other filthy and disgusting words, whereas Erikson was more reflective and exploratory. Both maintained ethical commitments to client welfare and professional integrity. Fellow students using these practitioners in their work could run the risk of receiving failing grades or be disciplined in some universities for referencing them. So please be safe and check in with your university and country before doing so. I don't want you to get a grade of an F on your paper. By the way, this paper got an A grade, and the entire course I received an A grade. So I'm here in the United States, it's okay. But you need to be careful if you're watching this and reviewing this and who you reference. Diversity considerations. Erikson recognized that identity formation is shaped by cultural norms and societal expectations. I myself have lived on 3 different continents. I lived in Japan for many years, in Asia, all throughout Polynesia and Hawaii. I lived in Europe for many years. I've lived in the United States for over 30 years. So influencing cross-cultural psychology and multicultural counseling becomes very important. And Ellis designed REBT as universally applicable, but encouraged adaptation to clients' cultural, religious, and personal values. So both theorists acknowledge that effective psychological practice requires sensitivity to diversity, ensuring theories and interventions are relevant and respectful across cultures. That's why I have many different people featured here from all across the world. You could see, just seeing is believing. A picture's worth 1,000 words. The comparison, of course, between Erikson and Ellis highlights their contrast. Erikson provides a life stage narrative for understanding personal growth, while Ellis gives tools for immediate thought and behavior change. Erikson's work is foundational in education and counseling. Ellis's is essential in psychotherapy and self-help. Together, they bridge historical and contemporary approaches to improving mental health. Integration in modern psychology. Modern psychology integrates both Erikson's and Ellis's ideas, I would say, on some continents and in some countries and universities. Educators and counselors rely on Erikson to understand developmental needs, while therapists use CBT approaches rooted in Ellis's REBT for treating disorders like depression and anxiety. So combining developmental insight with cognitive tools allows for a comprehensive approach addressing both the origins of issues and their current manifestations. And one thing I learned from Dr. Gibson is to knock and attack your own research, Marty. Put it down and put it down face down into the mud. Don't deliver homework that is perfect and is not knocked and negatively attacked. Attack yourself. And I think we see a lot of that in the ancient Greek philosophers as well. In summary, Erikson and Ellis represent two distinct but complementary approaches, one developmental, one cognitive behavior. Their differences in theory and technique provide psychology with a rich set of tools. Both remain influential in academic study and applied practice, shaping the way we think about identity change and mental health. And my references for this particular presentation are here. I'm very famous for turning in 3 to 20 pages of references, and sometimes difficult to read backwards from right to left in Arabic. Just depends on, where I'm prospecting, where I'm getting them from. They're usually pretty tight, pretty solid. I'm not error-proof. I'm not a robot. If I was, I would be an AI hallucinatory, device, sometimes delivering incorrect information. So I like to check and analyze every single reference. I am a huge practitioner of AI. I love AI. But like I said, I do like to check everything I turn in. These are my references today. And this was 14 slides. Thank you so much for checking this out, and really appreciate it.